Today we are going to continue our discussion about the properties of light. But let's refresh something we have learned before. So in the chapter 8 and 9, we have studied about the electromagnetic wave. So electromagnetic wave actually is light. So you still remember that there is a spectrum for the EM waves. So no matter it is the radio wave or the microwave, they are all part of light. Now, we know that if the electromagnetic wave is light, then light must obey the law of the reflections. So what is the law of the reflections? So now you have the plane mirror here, and you put an object. So now the object can emit the light, and the light will interact with the surface of the mirror and be reflected. So the so-called law of the reflection is that you have to draw a line perpendicular to the mirrors. So the so-called law of the reflection is that the angle between the perpendicular line and the incident line, this angle, is the same as the angle from the reflected light to the perpendicular line here. So now, if you draw this virtual normal line, then the angle compared with that should be the same. But you can see that the direction of the all reflected light is in these directions. So how could the image was formed? The principle is that you have to trace the reflected light backward, so the dashed line. So the dashed line is not the real light. So they are not the real one, so the image form is a virtual image. But you will see that all the virtual line will connect it to one point. So you will see that there is an image form at this point. And that is how you create an image for a mirror. So there are several properties, and we have mentioned that. For example, the size of the object should be the same as the size of the image for the plane mirror. Please remember, this is very important. It is true only for the plane mirror. And also, the distance from the image to the mirror is the same distance from the object to the mirror. So the distance should be the same. These are very crucial properties for the reflections. Then the next thing we studied before is the refractions. What is the reflections? So it is the light without being reflected, but instead they can enter into the different kind of medium. So for example, here it is from the air to the water. So we know that the light travel at a different velocity in the air and the water. So the best way to understand the concept of refraction is that consider you are driving a car and this is the tires of the car. Originally, they are all moving within the normal ground. So the friction along two tires are the same. But when the light or the car enter into the grass, you will see that this tire will have an interaction with the grass. So now the frictions on the left tire is different from the right tires. So the rotational speed will be different. So that's the reason if the rotational speed for the left and right are not the same, the car will be bended and will be turned to these directions. So this is not a refraction, but you can use this one as an analogy to understand the concept of the refractions. So it happens when the light passing from one medium to another one. So no matter from the air to the water or from the water to the air. And the second important fact is that the light will be bended to the normal line. So what is the normal line? It is the thing I just mentioned. Yeah? It is this dashed line perpendicular to the surface of the interactions. And they say the light will be bended to the normal line if the velocity in that medium is slower. So for example, the speed of light in the air is faster than the speed of light in the water. So you are moving from an area with a higher speed to a lower speed. So now the direction of the reflected light will be bended to the normal line. This is a very crucial concept. So based on that, we can study several interesting phenomena. For example, if you put a fork in a water cup, you will find out apparently the fork is still a fork, but it seems from the image here, the fork is distorted. So the reason is due to the refractions. It is because that image from the air and image within the water is different. the light was refracted due to the different speed of light. So I also show you that when you try to catch a fish, so if you try to look at the movement of fish, this is a real position of fish within the water, but your eyes will give you an illusion saying that here is the position of the fish. And let's try to use the law of the reflection to understand that. So the light from the fish will entering the air from the water. Yeah? So now, what is the direction of the refracted light? So the light is entering to the medium with a higher and faster speed of light. So from the water to the air, yeah? So it is moving faster in the air. So this is a normal line. So in that case, the light instead will not be bended toward, it will be bended away from the normal line. So therefore, the light from the fish actually will be bended toward your eyes, these directions. But your eyes cannot visualize that there is water there. Yeah? They just create an image based on the concept of the law of the reflection I just showed you. You just trace the direction of light backward, and this is a dashed line. And the dashed line will concentrate at one point. So actually the position of the fish is here, but the image form is in this position. So if you do not realize this fact, you will never able to catch a fish in the river or in the lake. Okay? So therefore, the object submerged in the water, they will appear closer to the surface. So when you try to catch them, you should assume that they are actually at the deepest of the water. And this is another example of the refractions. So the image above the water and below the water will be different. So it seems that the body was separated. So if it is true, apparently this person is dead already, but apparently it's not true. And similar for the duck. But personally, when I look at the pictures, I think this one could be probably made by Photoshop. I don't think the effect of the refractions is so strong. Now, we're going to study the other concept about the refractions, but this is not very similar to what we just mentioned, but not exactly the same. This is due to the concept of dark matter. So I have introduced you before that there are some material in the universe. It is so-called the dark matter. You cannot see them, but how do we know the existence of them? It is because of they don't emit any light. But if you have some object behind them can produce the light. So if the light emits from for example, the galaxy, supposedly should be from these directions. So they will pass through the regions with a dark matter. So you can consider that the light will be refracted because the speed of light is different using this kind of concept. But in fact, it is due to the gravitational field created by the dark matter. Or if you remember in our second exam test, based on the general relativity, the reason the light is bended is due to the curvature around the dark matter is bended. So the light will passing through the space along the curvature of the space. So what will happen is that this is the true position of the galaxy emitted light, but they will be bended and into the detectors on the Earth. So the detector on the Earth will thought, okay, now this is the direction of light. When they trace back, they will thought, oh no, actually this is the true position of the galaxy, but apparently it is not true. Yeah. So did you see that this is the concept very similar to this kind of the refractions? So the position of the real fish is different from the position of the virtual fish. And this concept is a so-called gravitational lensing. So people use this approach to study how many dark matter is in between the galaxy and the Earth. So this is what really happens. And in our daily life, refractions actually is very important because it can probably save your life when you are walking in the desert. So what happens is that a concept so-called the mirage. So what is a mirage? It is due to because of in the desert, the surface temperature during the daytime in the desert, the temperature near the surface is very hot, very high, and the air in the upper level of the sky is lower, the temperature is lower, so the density of the temperature is different here and here. So what happens is that when the light was emitted out from the trees, they will travel in these directions. However, they are entering from an area with a higher density to a lower density. So the speed of light is getting faster and faster. So you will find out that because the light is entering to the region with a higher speed of light, so the light will be bended away from the normal light. So they will be bent away, and eventually when they reach to your eyes, they will thought, okay, now this is the direction of the light from the trees. But in fact, it is not true. They will follow the dashed line. So your eyes will give you the illusion saying, okay, here is the position of the trees with the water. So you will keep walking along these directions, but in fact, this is the true position of the tree. And this kind of concept is the atmospheric refractions due to the different kind of temperatures near the surface of the ground and in the air. And here you will create an image, a mirage, give you illusions. So now let's have our first conceptual quiz today. So which one of these does not exist if the light did not flow in the transparent material? So I hope you already seen my email. So from the lecture today, I will have one conceptual quiz given without providing the answers. So when you're watching the videos, you're welcome to take a note and email me your answer and explanation after you finish that, okay? But you should do that within the same day of these video lectures. So this is our first one, so I will give you the answers. The answer is this. So all will not be, because rainbows, the phenomena I will introduce you later, is due to the refractions of the water molecules in the air, and mirage is the thing I just introduced you. So you will find out that the refractions actually plays a very crucial role in our daily life. We see a lot of things, but they are just the image form. And finally, the illusion can also provide it when you try to see the position of the sun. The reason is because how does this kind of refraction happens? We have the atmosphere around and cover the surface of the earth. Yeah? So if the light from the sun entering the atmosphere, so the speed of light will be different. They are going to move from a faster regions to a slower regions. So the light also will be refracted again. But for the person standing on the surface of Earth, they will create a virtual image here of the sun. So, which means it depends on the time of the day. The position when you see the sun in the sky may not be their real image. So I will invite you to think about that, what this will happen using the concept of the atmospherical refractions, using the concept we just studied.